Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this African violet flat circle. Now I've previously done an African violet hexagon, so it's very similar, but it's quite simple to turn it into a circle. Now I've done this before, made this into a coaster, and I've done a placemat, pot stand, because you can make this larger by increasing. I've even used this as a centre of a hat. Anywhere that you would normally use a flat circle, it's perfect for. So I'm using this with just scrap yarn. These are all DK weight, which is 3 weight. You can use 4 weight, just make sure you use the right size crochet hook. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. You'll be informed when there are new videos. I have quite a lot of tutorials on there already and loads more coming. And if you could like and share this video, it would really help me grow my channel, which I'd really appreciate it. So as I said, I'm using just DK weight and I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook. This is a Clover and More hook, which I'm using at the moment because I'm doing a trial on those and I'll be reviewing them. You also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle, which is in my box. So I'm going to start with this yellow, put these ones aside and find the end. There we are. Now you can start this with 5 chain and slip stitch into the chain to make a small loop, and then you will have a little gap in the centre, which doesn't look out of place because there are these little gaps, so it can look quite pretty that way. But you can make it with the magic loop or magic ring, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to show you a much easier way to do that. Magic loop. So I just make a circle, make a loop, insert my hook into it and pull the yarn through, and that's it, it's done. Ever so easy. I'm going to pull it closed just a little bit because I don't like a big circle while I'm working. Where'd I put my glasses? Over there. You can keep better control over it that way. So I put my fingers on it and I'm going to do 2 chain, so that's yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, which gets me up to the height of my first stitch. Now these first 2 will count as my first stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, go into this circle, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And in the UK that's called a treble crochet. In the US a double. So that's what we're going to be doing for now in any case. So we're going to work in groups of 2. So those first 2 chain count as our first. So we have 2 stitches and we're going to yarn over and pull through to make a chain. And now we need another 2. So go into the same gap as before, into the same space, and do 2 more. Always make sure that you are working over the ring itself and the tail, and 1 more chain and do another 2. If I go ahead of you at any time, then please just pause the video. So altogether we want 6 groups of 2, 6 pairs. With the chain separating, and our last 2, when you are coming near the end, as you will see, that tail will pop up, so just keep it down and make sure you're carrying on working over it. So I think that was number 5, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my last group of 2, but I'm not going to chain afterwards. Instead I'm going to join with a seamless join, and I'm going to pull that slightly closed. So if you were doing this with a chain of 5, you would end up with a little circle like that. But this won't be fully closed until we really secure this tail. So just be careful it doesn't pull out. So now that's our first chain that we started with, and this is our second. And I'm going to go into this stitch here, and I'm going to join it with a half treble. That's a UK term, a half double in the US. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop to have 3 on my hook. I'm not going to finish my stitch, however, I'm just going to snip off my yarn, leaving those loops on the hook, and join my new colour, which will be the purple. So I'm going to just get out some yarn. Be careful not to tangle them together. And what I do is I'll hold on. Remember, this is your centre and this is your working yarn. Just hold on to that working yarn at the back with your finger like this and bring the other one in and put them together. So you're holding both, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So now you've joined your new colour, and while I'm doing my tutorials I like to secure this one I've just snipped off and my new one with a little knot, because it sometimes can work its way loose, especially as I'm not holding my work how I normally would while I'm doing a tutorial. So now I've got a few tails which we need to make sure that this one always stays intact so you can pull it. Now if you look, we've got our groups separated by our chain, and this last one is separated and we're in the center of it. So what we need to do now is go into that center of our gap, our space, yarn over and pull up a loop, and not tight, but make sure that it's just a normal kind of tension, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through, and then I'm going to do a chain. So that's my first 2 chain, and it's going to count as my first stitch. Now we are doing this part here. So how I'm going to do, we're actually joining half of it. So I'm going to just do half of my first part of my petal, and all the others I'm going to do a full petal. Then when I get back, I'm going to finish off doing the other half, and this gives us a seamless join all the way around. So what we're doing now is this part here, and then we're going to carry on. So I need to do one more stitch, and I'm going to work over these 2 tails, not that center one, do be careful of that, and I'm just going to yarn over, go back into that same gap or space, we'll keep calling it a gap, yarn over and pull up and do my last stitch. So now I've got my first half. I'm going to get to my next space, which is this one. There's my pair of stitches, and there's my chain space. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that chain space and do my 2 and 1 chain and another 2 in the same space. So if you look, we've now got 2, 1 chain and 2 in the same space, and I'm going to do that in each of my chain spaces. So don't worry about those tails. I'll try and move them out of the way as much as possible so that you can't see them and be confused by them. So I'm doing 2, 1 chain and 2 in the same chain space. So that's in between every pair, you see? And we're going to keep going round and doing that in each one until we get back to the start, where we'll complete the other half of the first one that we've done. So I think I've gone over enough tail now to get rid of it altogether. Just pop it off, because this does make a few tails and it becomes a little bit difficult to see. So now we have the freedom of no tails. So if I put my finger behind, you can see the chain spaces, and we're just going to carry on with our little clusters in those spaces. And this is my last full one. I need a little bit more yarn. 1 chain, and now I need to complete this one. So I've got 2, And that little piece there, that little bit of yellow that you can see going across, if I didn't go into the ring, into that gap, that space with at the beginning, then that would have gone all the way across, and it does look a bit ugly. So I'm going to do 2 in there. Now I'm going to join it to my top chain, but slightly differently this time than how I did it before, because I don't really want a big gap or to be in the absolute center of a large gap, and I'm not changing color. So I'm going, that's my first chain there, and that's my second chain. Even if I zoom, I think it's a little hard to see. So there's the first chain, there's the second one, and I'm going to go in and pull up a loop. I think I might have only got 1 loop there. It's hard to see it. There we go. I'm going to go into the 2 loops and yarn over and pull through a loop. So I've got 2 on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through both. So I have a gap the size of a chain, but it's not massive, if you know what I mean. It's not a big gap. So I'm going to chain up 2, and now in between all of our petals, all of our little clusters, I need 7 stitches. So these 2 chain count as the first one, and I'm going to yarn over, go into that space and do 6 more in the same space. I need to pull some yarn, pull out enough. So that's 2. I lost count then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I thought it was 6. Wanted to make sure. So that's my 7th. So I've got 7 in between my my petals. So I'm going to not do any chaining, but I'm going to now do 7 into the next one. You can see the gap there. So I'm just going to go in and do 7 stitches. And we're going to do that in every single one all the way around, just in that centre one. So I need to pull out a bit more yarn because it's quite a lot of yarn used in this round. No chaining in between, just our 7, like a cluster of 7 in each one of those chain spaces. I'll zoom out, because otherwise I'll have a tendency to go off camera. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to carry on going into the centre of each of my clusters, that chain space, and do 7 in each, and I'll catch up with you when we get to this point. I've made it all the way around, so all I need to do now is join to the top of my first 2 chain, which is right there, and I'm going to do that but bring in my new colour. Sorry about the wobbly table, I've got my foot on it now, so hopefully that will be the end of the wobble. I wouldn't mind, but I have actually put something in the table to stop it from being wobbly, but it's not working. Don't normally have this problem, but we're putting a new floor in. So how I do that again is I hold on to that tail there where it's still attached, and I'm going to bring in my new colour and go through both with that new colour. And I'm going to cut off the purple. Now that did elongate. See that stitch there? That it did elongate a little bit. So I'm just going to pull it tight. Not too tight, obviously. But just going to pull it and tie that in a knot. So all is not lost if that does happen to you, but we don't really want it to. So now we've joined our new colour, I'm going to just do a chain. Now this is the point where we have to be really careful because we need 7 stitches all the way around. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one here is our 7. So I'm going to go into that stitch and I'm going to do 1 double crochet UK terms, which is a single crochet in the US, in every stitch all the way around. So there's, if it gets confusing, just count them. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. So there we are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is our other one. It's right close by it. It's only because we have a join that they are quite close together on this particular petal. So I'm going to work over those tails again just to get them out of the way, and we can get rid of them all together, and then they're no more confusing. So we're going each stitch of our 7, and now when we get to this point, I'm just going to cut them off. It's only a swatch to show you, so it's not like I'm going to do anything with this. It's just a tutorial, so I would do it more securely if it was a proper project. So now I have my 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're at this point, and we've got a hole here and a hole there. So we're going to drop our hook all the way down to that first hole and pull up our yarn and finish our stitch with an elongated stitch. Do you see that? So then we're going to pull that aside because this one is our first stitch, and we need to do our 7 UK doubles, US singles all the way around. That one is number 7. So again, we're not going to go into this space, we're going into this one, and we're going to pull up our yarn so that it's elongated, finish our stitch, pull that aside, and there is our stitch that we need to go into. And we're going to do our 7. Need to pull some yarn. That was 3. Now, don't worry if it starts to curl in. Just zoom out now. As you can see, can you see that? It's starting to curl a little bit. It doesn't matter. It's because we're not increasing, and so it will, but it doesn't cause too much of a problem. It will pull out, so don't worry. So we just need to pull up on our elongated stitches and make sure that we go in each of our 7 around. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back to you when I get all the way around and I'll meet up with you at the start. I've come all the way around and I'm on my last stitch there, so I need to drop down and pull up my last elongated stitch, and then I'm going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is my first stitch. I'm going to slip stitch into that one, not going to end off because the next round is going to be in the same colour. Now you have to watch what you're doing here. It's quite tricky because we need to start building up our round. So how we do that, and I've written it down just to remind me. We'll pull some more yarn. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 chain to start, which will count as my first stitch, and then in this first, so that's in this one, and in this one here I'm going to do a half treble, which is a half double in the US. So that's pull through all 3. So in my next 3 stitches, to get me over this hump, I'm going to do 3 UK doubles or US singles. So that's 1, 2, 3. And now another half treble or half double in the US. Now over my next stitches I need to bridge this gap, so I'm going to do 3 treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US. So that's 1, 2, get it in there, 3, and then I need to do a half treble. I think actually, sorry, no, I need to do 4 treble crochets. And now pull out some yarn and do, no, I was right, sorry, backtrack, it is a half treble. I should have read my notes. I only just wrote this pattern. I just used to do it from memory. So now I've got to go over these 3 stitches, which is over the hump again. So I'm going to do double crochet UK, single crochet in the US. So it's 3 of those, half treble, 3 trebles or doubles. See a pattern? So we do 3 of those, a half treble. Now the 3 small ones. So 3 double crochet UK, single crochet US, half treble, a half double, then 3 trebles or double crochet. So we're doing 3 big stitches, but we're also doing 3 small ones, and they're separated by a medium-sized half treble. And that turns this into a circle. You just need to make sure that you get your first stitch correct. And if you're at any doubt at any time that you're in the wrong stitch, then these top 3 ones, the top 3, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 3 need to be the single crochet US or double crochet UK. Those are the ones that need to be. You're going over the brow of the hill, if you like, and then when you get into the dip of the valley, those are the ones that need to be the large stitch. So now I'm on my UK trebles, which is a US double, and now I'm going to bring that down with my half treble, and now I'm going to do my UK doubles and my new half treble. It's at times like this I wish we didn't have different terms for our stitches, because it gets confusing when they're called the same thing. But you know, it is what it is. But as you can see, that is now turning into a circle. We're on the last part. Now I'm on my half treble, and I started with my 2 chain, which counts as a treble obviously, so I should finish with 2 instead of the 3. And now I need to slip stitch into the top of my first 2. Now if you wanted to change colour at this point, you can, and as you can see I changed to a white one to make a coaster, and I'm going to do that. Just snip off this green and bring in my white. But you don't have to do that, you can carry on as long as you do some increasing. Got my, I don't know why that went into there, bear with me a second, just need to untangle my white. Right, so yes, as long as you increased as you went around. So by this point, if you were doing a normal circle, and if you were using, say, a UK treble or US double crochet, you would probably be doing an increase in every 4th stitch. So you do 3, then an increase of 2, then 3, then an increase of 2, and then the next round you would do 4, then an increase of 2. So you would have already been doing several increases by the time you get to this point, and that's what I did when I made the hat. I just kind of started to increase from here until I'd done enough, because it was only for a child. So anyway, I'm going to join my yarn same way as before by holding on to that tail, bringing in my new one and holding the tail, and so it doesn't elongate my stitch because it went perfect that time. And just tie these together, which I know does annoy at least one person that watches me, but I'm sorry about that. I like it to be secure. So now all I'm going to do is the same as I did with this, and that is one UK double crochet all the way around. So that was a US single crochet, nice and simple, just to finish it off nicely. And I'm going to start with one chain and going into the same stitch, and then into the next one, which, because we've made a join, does look very close together, but it's not too bad. Now this has got no increases in it this round, and it's okay. It won't really pull up, and if it does, it only takes a little bit of manipulating. Didn't go through the actual part of the stitch there. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that. It annoys me. So yeah, you just need to pull it out a little bit. So I'm working over those two tails again, just to get them out of the way. It's when you get to that point, you sometimes find that because they're different stitches underneath, then the sometimes you find it's a little bit more tricky to get into that part of the stitch, if you know what I mean, like underneath the first two loops, because we've done different ones underneath. So I'm just going to like snip them off, get rid of them. If it was my project, I would be doing it a lot more securely, but it's easy to sort of just get rid of them when you're doing this tutorial. For some people that's enough, just going over them that much. See what I mean about the different stitches, whereas normally it's quite a nice big chunky bit to go into. Because that was a different stitch, it's smaller. So I just make sure that I go through the same part of the stitch in each one, going all the way around the edge. But that's always supposing, of course, that you want to finish at this point. But you could still do this round just to finish it, and then start, there's that small one again. You could then start doing increasing from this round on. But I think it makes it into a lovely little circle, lovely little flat circle, and it still keeps the African violet shape and the pretty stitch, you know, the petals and everything. So I must say, using this green, it's certainly helped with the fact that I couldn't, with the darker ones, although they're not actually as dark as they look on the camera. It was easy to see them while I was doing them, but for showing you, they were a little, they came through as a little bit darker, even though they weren't quite vibrant colours. I always find that purple is a very, very difficult colour to photograph in any case. It always wants to look blue. So now I'm almost back to the start, and all that I have to do now is slip stitch into that stitch there, and I'm going to end off because I'm done. But if you wanted to, you could chain 2 and start doing the increases. And just a little tip, that if you do that, when you're increasing, if you do your increase in your first stitch for the first round and then do 3 and then an increase, but the second round do your 4 and then your increase, then your increases are always in a different place, and it stops it from looking hexagon shaped. Sorry about that, phone call coming through. I thought I'd put it on silent, but that's how it looks. And I was very pleased with that, the way it came out. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and please like and share. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye for now.